Well, all right, guys, the viewers have spoken, and everybody wants to know about the console clown shows that have happened over the years, right? Console clown shows. You know, it's always fun to look at disasters, right? But when you have disasters that are worth millions and millions of dollars and just burning up, as long as they're not yours and you're not the one stuck with a console, right? We can always look back in time and laugh about it. So, of course, we're not going to be talking about the Amico because there's still, what, a 0.5% chance that's going to happen. We haven't ended that saga. But I wanted to take a look back at other clown shows that have happened, right? At other failures out there. Now, these are in no particular order, guys. These are just examples that I came up with, you know, just from my memory, things that I've experienced and seen and read about over the years. And I'll start off with the Nokia Engage. This is something that, me personally, when I saw it, I was like, dude, I'm gonna get this. You know, I need a phone, and I love video games, right? And Nokia was a giant in the phone industry back in the day, right? And what they wanted to do really is challenge Nintendo's Game Boy with an advanced, console that doubled as a phone, right? But really, what happened is that the Engage design was flawed. It had a D-pad on one side of the screen, like telephone buttons on the other side, making it real awkward for both gaming and making phone calls. Right? I could never afford it. I wanted it, you know, but it was like $300 back then, which is what, like, I don't know, $500 today probably. And with poor sales and the Game Boy outselling it, you know, it was like 100 to 1 or something like that. I mean, it was outrageous. So it was doomed from the start. All right, let's take a look at another console clown show that was closer to date, and that's Soldier Boy, Soldier Game, right? Now, don't get me wrong, Soldier Boy isn't broke, right? He's made money. I mean, I don't know where he's at today, but he made a ton of money by buying a soap company before the pandemic. That man made all kinds of money. I don't know how much he lost in crypto recently, but, you know, back when we're talking about this console, he had made some money and he was signing big deals. He really was. All right, so in 2018, rapper Soldier Boy went into the video game market, right? With Soldier Game, the Soldier Game consoles, promising like 3,000 built-in games or something like that. But the reality was different, right? The consoles were really just knockoffs of some Chinese company loaded with pirated Nintendo games. And remember, he was going out there, this is all legal. He didn't know what he was talking about. He was just putting things out there, right? And basically, all he did is put his name on it and stamped another $50 on it. And unsurprisingly, they turned out to be crap, right? No big surprise there, right? Here's the kind of weird stuff that I like to look at and read about. You know, these are something that, for example, only Gen Xers would remember. And that is the Memorex Video Information System. That's right. During the transition from cartridges to disc-based media, Radio Shack, remember Radio Shack's Tandy? All right, they released the Video Information System in 1992, right? What was the price? Well, it was $699. Which is about $1,500 today, right? So nobody was buying this thing. The system was customized with a version of Windows. It had a 16 megahertz processor. However, by the time it hit the market, like the hardware was already outdated, right? And that just resulted in poor sales. This is one of the disasters everybody remembers. I mean, this is a huge disaster. Only like 255 units were sold during the crucial holiday season. I should just end it there, right? I should just end it there. That's how much of a disaster it was. Here's one for the big boys, right? Of course, we all know about the Virtual Boy. Now, let me tell you this, guys. The Virtual Boy has one of the games that I'm jonesing for, that I wish I had. And that's Jack Bros. That game's like $1,000, right? It's the rarest Atlas game, and it's, you know, Atlas is my favorite developer by far. But anyway, they were known for their successful consoles when they came out, but this is one of their notable failures, right? The other one would be, of course, the Wii U, but this was, I think, the biggest, right? It released in 1995, and it was aimed at sort of being like a portable tabletop type game, but it was 3D, but it was red. I mean, that red on black really killed it for a lot of people. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was curious, but I never thought about buying it, nor did I ever know anybody that would buy it. Not only that, there was rumors that it was causing nausea on some players, so everybody stayed away from it. And it really only had 14 games released in North America, so, you know, it struggled to get an audience, and pretty much it was out of there, right? All right, here's another one for Gen Xers, and we remember this. This is just another, console that buried a company. The Commodore 64 game system, right? The Commodore 64 was really a popular, beloved computer of the 80s. I had a VIC-20. I started with the VIC-20 before getting to the Commodore 64. And it released 64 games back in 1990. However, this cartridge-based TV console removed the keyboard and cassette drive access point, limiting it to just playing a few dozen cartridge games. They really made a mistake by that. They should have kept, the computer component part of it. But anyway, by that time, the 60-bit era has already started, right? And this Commodore 64 gaming system looked outdated compared to the Sega Genesis. It sold a merely, and I mean pathetically, 20,000 units. More than Amico, though. More than Amico pre-orders. Oh, this is one of my favorites. I mean, when things go south and somebody tries making like Homer's car, it always turns into a shit show, right? I remember this one because it was like around my time. In video gaming, I was trying to find out what to do. I was kind of in the middle of, I was hearing about the Nintendo, but it wasn't out yet. But anyway, the RDI House Science, right? Or Halcyon. I don't even know how to pronounce it, right? But it's House Science is how we used to say it back in the day. In 1985, RDI Video Game Systems produced the Halcyon, an ambitious home system that aimed to replicate the success of Laserdisc adventure games. Right, and let me tell you what, Laserdiscs were the thing. I used to work at a shoe store called Florsheim Shoes. It's still around, very famous brand. We had a machine where you could just sit and order shoes. It was like online ordering at a machine, and it ran on Laserdisc. It was wild. People were afraid to use it. Right, they trained us all how to use it, and it was basically, really, guys, it was online ordering. It's just shoes. It was a keyboard. And you would just order whatever shoes you wanted. If you knew what shoe you liked already, you would just reorder the same thing, basically. But people never wanted to use it, and they forced us to take the customers over there and watch us order it so they could just do it on their own. I don't know what the long term there was, getting rid of salespeople, right? But anyway, getting back to this ugly thing, it had voice-activated controls, disc-based games, speech synthesis. Right? It was ahead of its time, right? However, the price tag, okay? Listen to this. In 1985, this thing was $2,000, right? Just get this in perspective. This is about $5,400 today. Today, this thing was dead from the start. It only had 2 games, and the scarcity of the console really, it was dead in the water. Nobody was buying this thing. And let's go here with a couple of big boys. The Apple Bandai Pippin. We all know about this disaster, right? Even Apple has had their fair of failures, right? And the Pippin in the mid-90s was one of them. They developed it in collaboration with Bandai, but the console aimed to compete with the CD-ROM based market at the time, right? Despite having all the technology, forward-thinking fixtures, all that stuff, built-in modem for internet access, the Pippin struggled with the software issues. And a strange boomerang-shaped controller. I mean, that thing was really odd. With less than a dozen titles released, the intense competition from Sony's PlayStation, and that really, the PlayStation was murdering everybody. It was murderer's row. The PlayStation was slaying everybody. The Pippin just couldn't make it out of the gate, really, right? And now for my last two consoles. Well, one of them isn't even a console. Right? I want to put it out there, the Google Stadia, right? The name of the game is the games in the end, right? The name of the game is the games. And Google Stadia, just had to bow down to a higher power of Microsoft. They had the games. Google Stadia struggled to get the titles. They never caught traction. I think the technology wasn't there for them, right? They launched in 2019, right? They should have been a banging business. If all the infrastructure was there, guys, it's just like anybody else during that time. If the same parallels with Amico, they didn't have the infrastructure in the right place, but if they did, right? If they had the cross-play with mobile, if they had the servers running on point, this thing could have been amazing, right? But I think the entry point, people not being comfortable with it, not having a console, maybe if they would have been full mobile, maybe, but who knows? At this point in 2022, it just crashed down and burned, and now Google pretends it never happened, right? Last but not least, let's talk about the Mattel Hyperscan, right? And this is back in 2006, probably the closest thing to the Amico. This thing was trash, right? They wanted to join Sega and Nintendo, and wanted to resort to unique gimmicks to stand out. Sound familiar? And they failed, man. The Hyperscan came out at $69.99. They used CD-ROMs for a game delivery, but it also featured an RFID reader. Hello. Players could power up selecting characters by scanning trading cards. I think that was novel, implementing cards. But, I mean, just the system wasn't good. But, overall, the system was underpowered. The controllers barely worked. And there was only 5 games when it was released. By the end, when this was over, you could probably find a Hyperscan in stores for less than the $15, really. All right, guys, those were some clown shows, right, from the past, from console generations past, right? And let's conclude our journey exploring the biggest failures, right? There have been many, many lessons that we learned in the gaming industry, and a lot of it really has to do with the missteps. And these companies keep moving forward, at least the bigger ones, right? And that's how evolution happens. That's how changes, even with failure, improve the industry. Much bigger companies that the current version of Intellivision have failed, and much more, many more will fail in the future, because this is a really competitive, cutthroat business. On second thought, I lied. Intellivision Amico has been the biggest clown show I have ever seen in my entire life. And I've been playing games since the days of the Atari 2600. It is by far the worst clown show I have ever seen, but at the same time, the most enjoyable. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and I earned your subscription. Make sure to hit that like button. And if you'd like to, please subscribe. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.